Malaysia's government says it may renew the hunt for MH370 that vanished 10 years ago. It comes after a US technology firm proposed a fresh search for the plane that vanished in the southern Indian Ocean.
Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, which mysteriously disappeared from radar while en route to Beijing. The plane and the 239 souls on board were never found. Now two brothers think they may have discovered the truth and the plane.
What happens when an aircraft carrying over 200 passengers suddenly disappears into thin air? Could it be sabotage, a hijacking, or something even more sinister? The disappearance of Flight 370 is one of the biggest mysteries in aviation history. But it seems like the truth about this aircraft is finally within reach. After years of tireless search efforts, an underwater drone has delivered the sudden breakthrough everyone has been waiting for. The location of Malaysian Flight 370 has finally been discovered. Keep watching to witness firsthand the mystery of Flight 370 and the shocking revelation that has captured the world's attention.
It's been 8 years since the Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 disappeared. The flight had 239 passengers on board. There have been many theories and questions over the years raised regarding the mystery of the missing flight.
The mysterious vanishing saga of Flight 370. In the early hours of a cold March morning in 2014, precisely at 12:41 a.m. on March 8th, something incredible happened. It all started when Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 geared up for departure from Kuala Lumpur International Airport to Beijing Capital International Airport in China. The flight was expected to be relatively short, just over 6 hours. The aircraft designated for this journey was a Boeing 777-200ER with the registration number 9MMRO. The plane was not exactly fresh off the assembly line as it had already served in the skies for 12 years. Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, a seasoned and proficient aviator, was at the controls of this aircraft. At 53 years old, with a staggering 18,365 hours of flight time under his belt, Captain Zahari possessed a wealth of experience and a deep passion for aviation cultivated over decades of service in the skies. His extensive flying experience made him a trusted leader in the cockpit, admired by his peers and respected by his crew. He was known for regaling other aircraft enthusiasts with stories of his airborne adventures on social media platforms. First Officer Fark Abdul Hamid, a 27-year-old with 2,763 hours of flying experience, joined Captain Zahari in the cockpit of Flight 370 as his co-pilot. For First Officer Fark, this flight presented a valuable opportunity for professional development and growth. With aspirations of advancing in his aviation career, First Officer Fark approached each flight as a chance to expand his knowledge and refine his skills in the cockpit. Little did he know that it would tragically be his final flight. Wait to hear what happened next. On board the aircraft were also 10 flight attendants and 227 passengers, including 5 young children. While the majority of the passengers hailed from China, there were other passengers from different parts of the world. Among the passengers were 38 individuals from Malaysia, as well as people from Indonesia, Australia, India, France, the USA, Iran, Ukraine, Canada, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Russia, and Taiwan. As the large plane rolled down runway 32R and ascended into the sky, it disappeared into the dark night, heading northeast over the vast South China Sea.
Malaysian 370, request level.
370, we are ready, requesting flight level 350 to Beijing.
370, 3 to right of takeoff.
That's right, Malaysia, Malaysia,
Upon reaching a cruising altitude of 35,000 feet, the atmosphere inside the cockpit was one of controlled efficiency. With the aircraft settled into its flight path, the crew initiated routine communication procedures with Kuala Lumpur Air Traffic Control, ensuring that all systems were functioning smoothly and that there were no obstacles or issues to impede their journey. The exchange was brief but reassuring, confirming that the flight proceeded according to plan and that all was well aboard the aircraft. Not long after, as the flight progressed and the aircraft reached the threshold of Vietnamese airspace, Malaysian Air Traffic Control bid farewell to Flight 370 per standard protocol. This was a regular customary gesture that showed the transition from one jurisdiction to another. In response to the farewell message from Malaysian Air Traffic Control, Captain Zahari transmitted a routine goodnight message.
Okay, Director Gary. Malaysia 370, thank you.
By doing this, he acknowledged the handover of control and signaled the aircraft's transition into Vietnamese airspace. It was a brief but polite exchange, a routine part of the flight operation that had been repeated countless times before without incident. It was at this point that things took a sudden, unexpected turn for the worst. As the aircraft entered Vietnamese skies, it vanished from radar screens. Its transponder, which was practically an aircraft's identification card transmitting vital information to ground controllers, suddenly stopped working. This malfunction left those monitoring it on the ground shocked and unsure of its whereabouts or status. That's not all, because this story grows even more mysterious. Before the aircraft's disappearance, no distress signals were transmitted from it. There were also no reports of adverse weather conditions or mechanical issues. Then, around 1:30 in the morning, an unexpected development occurred. Both military personnel and civilian radar operators in Malaysia detected the reappearance of the aircraft. However, something strange happened. The aircraft deviated from its intended path. It took an unexpected turn and began retracing its route. Then, it veered southwestward, crossing the expanse of the Malay Peninsula. But its journey didn't end there. It altered its course once more, heading northwestward across the expansive body of water known as the Strait of Malacca. The reasons behind these confusing maneuvers remain a mystery. Was there a mechanical issue with the aircraft? Did someone deliberately alter the flight path? Or was there another explanation? As these puzzling sequences of events were happening, a pilot from another aircraft attempted to establish communication with Flight 370. By using a unique emergency channel, they tried to relay a message from Vietnamese air traffic controllers, urging the Flight 370 team to respond. Despite making contact, the conversation was garbled and incomprehensible, characterized by muffled noises and intense static. This only increased the confusion and anxiety surrounding the situation. Then, in the quiet early hours of the morning, another startling development happened. At 2:22 a.m., Malaysian military personnel responsible for monitoring the skies lost track of the aircraft. This happened as the aircraft crossed over the Andaman Sea. The sudden silence of the radar raised alarming suspicions that something terrible may have happened. Wait to hear what happened next. At 2:40 a.m., the air traffic controllers responsible for monitoring airplanes delivered alarming news. They contacted Malaysia Airlines with a troubling update. Flight 370 had vanished from their radar screens. It had disappeared without a trace. Upon receiving this distressing information, Malaysia Airlines plunged into a state of deep concern. They immediately launched an exhaustive search effort, reaching out to anyone who might assist, fellow air traffic controllers, airborne aircraft, and anyone with potential information. Their desperation for any semblance of a clue regarding Flight 370's whereabouts was very obvious. The search for the aircraft intensified further as the sun began to rise at 5:30 a.m. Those tasked with locating the missing aircraft poured all their energy into the search. As they searched, they focused mainly on two key areas, the South China Sea and the Gulf of Thailand, the last known locations where the aircraft had made contact. After it disappeared from radar screens, Flight 370 became the main point of intense media coverage. Many individuals came forward, claiming to have spotted the aircraft. On March 19, 2014, several eyewitnesses, ranging from fishermen to oil rig workers and residents of locales like the Kuta Huadu Atoll in the Maldives, reported sightings resembling Flight 370. Some of these accounts were incredibly detailed. For instance, a fisherman near the coast of Kota Baru described an incredibly concerning scenario. According to him, he saw an aircraft that was flying at an unusually low altitude. But that's not the only discovery that shocked the Malaysian airline authorities. Stay tuned to see what happened next. Reports of the missing aircraft. In a remote location, 1863 miles southeast of a spot known as Wong, something unsettling happened. A regular routine day for an oil rig worker was abruptly interrupted when he spotted something that he thought was strange. Looking up, he was surprised to see flames streaking across the sky in the early hours of the morning. The sight was so astonishing to him that he felt shivers run down his spine. Sensing the gravity of the situation, the oil rig worker wasted no time in reporting his observation to the authorities. Recognizing the potential significance of the reported celestial phenomenon, the authorities quickly mobilized a search and rescue operation, determined to find out the mystery behind this reported celestial spectacle. As news of the unsettling sighting spread, speculation and conjecture ran rampant. The mysterious nature of the sighting only served to deepen the sense of curiosity and fascination, as observers struggled with the myriad questions that arose in its wake. What could have caused such a phenomenon? Was it a natural occurrence, or was there something more sinister at play? Despite the swirling speculation, the authorities remained focused on their mission at hand. With precision and determination, they scoured the oceanic expanse for clues that might shed light on the mysterious sighting. Every lead was meticulously pursued, every possibility carefully considered, as they left no stone unturned in their quest for answers. Meanwhile, Indonesian fishermen also came forward with their own observations. They claimed to have witnessed an aircraft falling quickly near the Malacca Straits.
These fishermen be amongst the last people to have seen flight MH370. I was fishing when I saw the plane. It looks strange, flying low, Azid tells me. I thought the pilot must be crazy. We don't know if that plane is flight MH370.
Just when it seemed the situation couldn't become any more bewildering, 3 months after the initial disappearance, a British woman sailing across the Indian Ocean also came forward. She reported seeing a plane engulfed in flames, just like the oil rig worker had said. These different narratives only served to deepen the intrigue surrounding the disappearance of Flight 370. While each tale was unique, they collectively depicted a strange and tragic scenario. Yet despite the mounting questions, the Vietnamese authorities and Malaysian Airlines still had no answers. At first, search efforts were focused on the South China Sea, since it was the most logical starting point given the aircraft's intended flight path. However, a sudden twist threw everyone into disarray. New information came out saying Flight 370 went way off track, heading west instead of where it was supposed to go. This changed everything in the search. The authorities started looking in new places, like the Strait of Malacca and the deep parts of the Andaman Sea. But that was just the start of the mystery getting more complicated. Later, they got important clues from signals the missing plane sent to a satellite. But these signals weren't straightforward. They were like secret messages from the sky, suggesting the aircraft was still flying hours after it vanished from radar screens. This was very surprising to everyone involved in the search. It turned out the plane flew unseen for about 6 hours, and nobody knew where it was during that time. Then, on March 15, 2014, 1 week after it disappeared.
Well, the search is continuing this morning for the Malaysia Airlines plane which vanished on a flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, as counter-terrorism agencies from around the world join the investigation. Interpol,
a company named Inmarsat, shared some key information. They couldn't say precisely where the plane was, but they gave hints. They said Flight 370 might have ended up in 2 very different places. It might have gone south, maybe crashing into the faraway waters of the Indian Ocean near Australia, or it might have gone north, reaching an enormous area from Vietnam to Turkmenistan. Realizing the plane wasn't in any of the places they had looked before, the search teams changed their course of action. They stopped searching in the places they thought the plane might be, like the South China Sea and the Gulf of Thailand, and started looking in these new areas. But there was a problem, especially with the North Path. The idea that the plane could have gone north, flying over countries like Thailand and Kazakhstan without anyone noticing, seemed hard to believe. These countries had radars watching their skies, and they were pretty sure they would have seen any strange plane coming into their airspace. So the idea of Flight 370 heading north was quickly dismissed, leaving investigators in the world scratching their heads once more. With the northern route off the table, the search area expanded significantly. They divided their search areas into 2 main parts. The first part, known as the Southern Arc, stretched into the remote waters of the Indian Ocean, far southwest of Australia.
Got some brand new video coming in right now on the massive search effort for Malaysia Flight 370. Went all night long, and that search zone in the southern Indian Ocean so remote.
The second part included portions of Southeast Asia, western China, and the Indian subcontinent. The problem with expanding the search area was that the already confusing situation became even more complex. On March 24, 2014, Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak delivered devastating news. He announced that they had reached a grim conclusion after meticulous analysis of the final signals transmitted by the lost aircraft, in collaboration with experts from Inmarsat and the UK Air Accidents Investigation Branch. They determined that the aircraft's last known location was over the southern Indian Ocean. This ocean is so large and desolate that there was nowhere the aircraft could have safely landed. This grim revelation led to the heartbreaking realization that the aircraft, along with all those aboard, likely met a tragic end by crashing into the sea. The aircraft carried 239 individuals, and the prospect of anyone surviving such a catastrophic event seemed bleak. This incident represented the worst tragedy involving a Boeing 777 at that time. Flight 370 held this grim distinction for 131 days until another tragic event happened. On July 17, 2014, another Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777-200ER, Flight 17, was shot down, resulting in the loss of 298 lives.
An accident or a disaster, but an act of terrorism. Those were the words of the Ukrainian president today after a flight with 298 people on board was apparently shot down over his country.
This subsequent catastrophe surpassed the magnitude of the first. But that's not where the story ends for Flight 370. The elusive hunt for the missing aircraft. The search for the missing Flight 370 turned into the most expensive search operation ever undertaken in aviation history. This mission posed immense challenges, mainly because authorities suspected the aircraft might have crashed in a remote part of the ocean, far from any inhabited areas, making access difficult. But suddenly, things began to take a turn for the better. A small glimmer of hope emerged on April 6, 2014, when a vessel from Australia, situated far out at sea, picked up what they believed to be signals from the plane's black box. These elusive signals were captured approximately 1,240 miles northwest of Perth, a bustling coastal city nestled in Western Australia. The credibility of this lead received a significant boost when the data from Inmarsat, the satellite company previously mentioned, correlated with the reported location of these signals. Despite this glimmer of hope, apprehension lingered in the air. However, this raised some concerns. If these signals truly came from Flight 370, the black box, which recorded the aircraft's final moments, might soon lose power and stop functioning. The subsequent steps taken to validate this lead showed the situation's urgency. A meticulous and methodical approach was essential to translate the cryptic messages concealed within these signals. To investigate this lead, a robotic underwater drone was sent to scour the depths of the ocean floor. Despite the drone's extensive and diligent search efforts, no traces of the missing aircraft were uncovered. Because of this, doubts arose among some individuals, speculating that the detected signals may have resulted from errors or interference from the submarine's equipment. Still, the search team did not give up. They continued searching with unwavering determination until June 2015. Unfortunately, their endeavors yielded no tangible results. Then, on July 29, 2015, a fascinating breakthrough happened. A portion of the aircraft's right wing, known as the flaperon, washed ashore on a beach on Reunion Island. This island lay far beyond the initial search area in the Indian Ocean, approximately 2,300 miles west of it. Over the next 18 months, fragments suspected to belong to the aircraft began appearing on beaches in various locations, including Tanzania, Mozambique, South Africa, Madagascar, and Mauritius. Among these discoveries, 26 fragments were said to be potentially linked to the missing plane. Of these, 3 were definitively identified as belonging to Flight 370, while 17 were highly likely matches. 2 of these fragments were also traced back to the aircraft's interior, suggesting the possibility that the plane may have disintegrated at some point. However, the exact circumstances surrounding the breakup remained uncertain. After examining fragments of the wing found on Reunion Island and in Tanzania, the search team finally got insights into the events that happened before the aircraft's disappearance. It appeared that the plane did not make a controlled descent onto the water's surface. Instead, some experts theorized that Flight 370 may have experienced a high-velocity impact, falling quickly in a steep dive. In January 2017, Malaysia, Australia, and China announced the suspension of their official search efforts for Flight 370. However, a United States-based company named Ocean Infinity received authorization from Malaysia to continue the search. This extended search operation continued until May 2018, when the Malaysian Transport Ministry declared its conclusion. But things didn't end there, so stay glued to your screens to see what happens next. Analyzing the conspiracies and clues of Flight 370. In July 2018, Malaysian officials released a report concerning the mysterious disappearance of Flight 370. This report earned massive attention, as it suggested that the aircraft's disappearance was unlikely to be the result of an accidental mechanical failure. Instead, it hinted at the possibility of deliberate human intervention, implying that someone may have intentionally altered the plane's course. Despite numerous clues and diligent investigative efforts, the panel of experts tasked with unraveling this confusing case remained unable to point out the precise reasons behind Flight 370's disappearance. This left many vital questions unanswered. Following the aircraft's disappearance, many people came up with different theories, speculating about the possible scenarios of what happened to the aircraft. One particularly concerning theory proposed the possibility of hijacking, suggesting that someone forcibly seized control of the aircraft. This speculation was not merely conjecture, it was supported by tangible evidence. The revelation that two individuals had boarded Flight 370 using stolen passports was of particular concern. These passports had been reported missing in Thailand within the preceding 2 years. Interpol, an international organization facilitating collaboration among law enforcement agencies worldwide, confirmed that these passports were indeed listed in their lost or stolen passports database. The failure to cross-reference these passports against the database at the time of their theft was a major oversight. This issue gained further prominence when Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, responsible for Malaysia's internal security, mentioned that this was a glaring error. He expressed dismay over the fact that individuals with stolen passports had been permitted to board the aircraft at Malaysian borders. These individuals had bought one-way tickets through China Southern Airlines. Subsequent investigations revealed that the two passengers were young men aged 19 and 29 who had entered Malaysia legally using their authentic Iranian passports at the end of February 2014. More details emerged regarding the circumstances surrounding the ticket purchase. A man from Iran, making inquiries from a location in Bangkok, had sought the cheapest available tickets to Europe, which he paid for in cash. More investigations also showed that the two passengers were indeed Iranian nationals who had entered Malaysia legally using their authentic passports. Many people speculated that maybe these individuals were seeking asylum in another country in a bid to find safety and refuge. Contrary to what was being pushed as the reason behind the two passengers buying the passport, the head of Interpol suggested that terrorism might not have been the motive behind their actions. After the mysterious disappearance of Flight 370, American and Malaysian authorities initiated a thorough investigation into the backgrounds of all passengers aboard the flight. They meticulously scrutinized every aspect of the passengers' histories. At the same time, the Chinese government conducted a comprehensive review of the Chinese passengers. Despite exhaustive scrutiny, the consensus was reached that there was no evidence linking any of the aircraft's passengers to violence or terrorism. The investigative process was rigorous and thorough, leaving no room for oversight or error. Every aspect of the passengers' lives was subjected to intense scrutiny, from their professional affiliations to their personal relationships, in an effort to uncover any potential links to violence or terrorism. However, despite the exhaustive nature of the investigation, no evidence emerged to suggest that any of the passengers harbored malicious intent or posed a threat to the safety and security of the flight. In the absence of concrete evidence pointing to foul play or bad intentions, investigators found themselves struggling with this very confusing situation. Despite their best efforts, the elusive truth behind Flight 370's disappearance remained tantalizingly out of reach. In the absence of tangible evidence, the investigation into Flight 370's disappearance entered a state of limbo. As the weeks turned into months and the months into years, the search for answers continued, and Flight 370 still remains one of aviation's greatest mysteries. So, do you think the revealed location of the missing aircraft is true? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. We have come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed watching, make sure to give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and share with your friends. See you in the next video.